So dear participants, welcome back with a new topic today. We will discuss on I/O addressing. This is going to be a very short discussion which will give us idea about how the different terminals, input and output terminals in a PLC are numbered. There are certain alphanumeric patterns that each manufacturer they do follow in order to number the terminals in a PLC. Because whenever we are sending signals to certain input, how the CPU will understand that which input is getting the signal or to which output terminal he has to give the output. It has to give the output. So under that circumstances, each and every input terminal and each and every output terminal should be given proper nomenclature, proper terminology, and this is what that is going to be discussed in I/O addressing. Now, as I have told that there is proper allocation of addresses to each input and output. For a small PLC, this is just a number prefixed by a letter to indicate whether it is an input or an output port. So for a small PLC, it can be I0, I1, I2 like that. Now you see that if I use I0, I1 like this, then there will be only 9 input or 9 output channels. So therefore, normally with small PLCs, I01, I02, it is given like that. So it can go up to I99. Okay, now for Mitsubishi PLC, the first example that we have taken is Mitsubishi PLC. When the PLC size is very small, then we actually use address like this X400, X401, X402 like that, and outputs are denoted with Y. X means input, Y is output, 430, 431, 432 likewise. Toshiba uses a similar system. Now, a bit confusing terminologies they do appear when you have larger PLCs that are having several racks of input and output channels. So here first you need to number the rack, then you need to number the channel. So let us take the example of Allen Bradley PLC 5, which is one of the master PLCs in industry. So the rack containing the processor is given the number 0 and the addresses of the other racks are given as 1, 2, 3 and so on. So the basic processor rack it is 0 and further the other racks are numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. Now each rack can have a number of modules and each one deals with a number of input and output ports. Likewise you can see here this is the first X. If I write here I, that means it's an input port. If I write here O, that means we are talking of an output port or output terminal. Next, the first two digits that talk of the rack number 0001, likewise the rack number will go. Next you can see that this is the module number. In suppose one rack there are 3 modules, so it will be 1, 2 and 3. And finally in each of the module there will be certain terminal. So likewise there are the 2 digits. So if I address an input like this 012 / 03, then I stands for the input, 01 stands for the rack number, 2 stands for the module number, and in module number 2 the terminal is 3. So although this is a bit confusing at the beginning, but this is very simple, and once you are accustomed with working with one or other PLC, it will be very easier for you to follow this particular alphanumeric nomenclature. Next, let us take the case of Siemens Simatic S7. Here the inputs and outputs are arranged in groups of 8. Each such group is termed a byte, and each input or output within a group is termed a bit. Okay, so each such group is termed a byte. Why byte? Because there are a group of 8 terminals. So each input or output within a group is called a bit. So in Siemens we are using the terminology bit for a terminal. The inputs and outputs thus have their address in terms of the byte and bit numbers, effectively giving a module number followed by a terminal number and a full stop separating the two numbers. So this is the byte number. The byte means the module number, and then this X is the bit number. So if I take I 0.1, that means I stands for input, and here output is denoted by Q. So here I is the input, where input is bit 1 in byte 0. Byte 0 means it is actually the module number. The input is bit 1. And for Q20, it is an output. The output bit number is 0 and byte number is 2. So likewise, the addressing is done properly in any PLC by any manufacturer. Remember very clearly that if you are using a particular field point to be connected to particular input bit, okay, or input terminal, and you are giving a separate terminal or bit number to the PLC while programming, your system is not going to work. Definitely it is not going to work, but many a times it happens that while doing the hardware connections, we connect it with one of the terminals, and while doing the programming, we are giving a different number while putting the values of these numbers because of the alphanumeric jargon. बहुत सारे टाइम कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं हम कौन से टर्मिनल में लगाएं, समझो टर्मिनल 0.0 पे लगाएं और वहां पे प्रोग्राम करते वक्त हमने लिख दिया 0.1. This is not going to suffice the purpose. Therefore, it is very important that you understand this alphanumeric nomenclature of any PLC before working with it. With this much, I close this discussion, and I will come up with input and output devices in our next discussion. Thank you.